Hi, this is Mallikarjun, lecturer in Mechanical Engineering, GMRP Woodnor. The subject I am going to deal in this video is engineering materials and subject code 18M 305C, and the topic is heat treatment. Under heat treatment, I've been discussing about the annealing process. In the previous video sessions, I discussed about the full annealing process and subcritical annealing process, and also the TTT diagrams and continuous cooling transformation diagrams, and the difference between the TTT and CCT diagrams, and the need for the heat treatment process and different types of annealing, and in among the 4 types of annealing processes, I discussed a full annealing process and process annealing process. Now in this video, I'll be discussing about the spheroidized annealing. Spheroidized annealing is extensively practiced for high carbon tool steels to transform lamellar perlite into granular type. That is, it is also almost same just like subcritical or process annealing, whereas in process annealing only hypoeutectored steels are subjected to the subcritical annealing process, whereas in spheroidized annealing process the hypereutectoid steels are subjected to spheroidized annealing. That is high carbon steels. So this process is performed by heating the steel slightly above the critical line, that is 730 degrees to 770 degrees centigrade, with subsequent holding at this temperature, followed by slow cooling at a rate of 25 degrees centigrade to 30 degrees centigrade per hour to 600 degrees centigrade. In other method, steel is heated just below the lower critical temperature, holding at this temperature for prolonged period, followed by slow cooling. So spheroidized annealing can be done in 2 methods. In the first method, the steel is slightly heated above the A1 line, that is around 730 degrees centigrade to 750 degrees centigrade, with subsequent holding at this temperature, followed by slow cooling at a rate of 25 degrees centigrade to 30 degrees centigrade per hour to 600 degrees centigrade. In the other method, it is heated just below the A1 line temperature, holding at this temperature for prolonged period, followed by slow cooling. This process is applied to high carbon steels and alloy steels to improve Meshnability and ductility. Low carbon steels become very soft due to spheroidization and does not improve meshnability. So therefore, this process is adopted only on spheroidized annealing. We can easily see high carbon steels are around carbon containing more than 1.65 percent carbon, sorry, 0.65% carbon. So in one method it is heated just below the A1 line, and then slowly cooled to room temperature. So when it is slowly cooled, what happens is the cementite, whatever the cementite present in the hypereutectoid steel or high carbon steels, the cementite network will convert into spheroids. So this is the main difference. So because of this, the brittleness of the metal is reduced and it can be easily meshnable. So the main purpose of full annealing is, a spheroidized annealing is to convert the cementite network into small spheroids of carbon spheroids. Thus, the brittleness is reduced. Whereas in the process annealing, it is used for hypoeutectoid steels. In hypoeutectoid steels, we don't have the cementite network. Therefore, the cementite is not converted into carbon globules or spheroids. So generally, this spheroidized annealing is used to induce softness, to alter ductility, toughness, and meshnability to produce a definite microstructure. Generally, steel is annealed by heating it in a furnace. The furnace may be any gas fired furnace or oil fired furnace. Any furnace under a neutral atmosphere without any reducing atmosphere. The atmosphere in the furnace should be maintained neutral. No oxidizing or reducing atmosphere is entertained during the annealing process. So the process of heating the steels according to the kind of steels, followed by very slow cooling in the furnace itself. So in the first method, if the steel is heated above the what happens, the mechanism for the cementite is two phases are developed. One phase is austenite and the other phase is cementite. So whatever cementite is formed, that cementite is converted into globules. So spheroidized annealing is applicable to steels which have more than 0.8% carbon. Parts are heated between below this A1 line and holding at this temperature for a period of time to convert the microstructure. Essentially, this cementite changes from a lamella formation to an alpha ferrite matrix with particles of spheroidal cementite. So, spheroidized annealing is generally done on parts which have been work hardened to allow them to be further worked, either rolled in the case of coils or drawn for wire. So this resulting product has improved ductility and toughness with reduced hardness and strength. So any annealing process, that means any annealing process reduces hardness and strength and induces toughness and ductility. The main purpose of annealing itself is induction of the uh, inducing ductility and toughness. So this spheroidized annealing is normally carried out under a protective atmosphere to prevent oxidation and decarburization. So the furnaces used are basically pit furnace of having diameter 180 inches diameter to 96 inches to bell furnace which has 72 inches diameter to 84 inches height. So this type of annealing is very advantage have very advantage because the cementite network across the grain boundary is a very big disadvantage which increases the hardness of the metal and brittleness of the metal. Therefore sorry heating the steel to a temperature is of predetermined temperature is very crucial and based upon the temperature phase transformation takes place. That is, whatever the perlite present in the steel will entirely convert into austenite. So this, after austenite, even cementite will also gets a little unstable, and when it is cooled slowly, the cementite is allowed to form spheroids rather than a network around across the grain boundaries. So this is one type of annealing, and the next type of annealing is isothermal annealing. In isothermal annealing, the steel is heated above the A3 line and held for a prolonged period to form austenite. Then the steel is rapidly cooled to a temperature 50 degrees centigrade to 600 degrees centigrade below the lower critical line. At this temperature, the austenite is allowed to decompose it into perlite completely, and then the steel is cooled in a still air. So that means isothermal annealing is almost equal to the TTT diagrams what we have discussed. In while we were discussing about isothermal heat treatment, isothermal transformation is almost same as isothermal annealing. In isothermal transformation, once the austenite is stabilized and the steel converts into austenite throughout the section, then the austenite is allowed to transform into perlite at constant temperature to get whatever the structure, to get whatever microstructure. That microstructure corresponding temperature, we should hold the metal until the entire austenite transforms into, whether it is a perlite or a fine coarse perlite or fine perlite or sorbite or trustite or upper bainite or lower bainite or martensite. So these, depending upon the requirement of the microstructure, we will hold the temperature, we will hold the steel at that particular corresponding temperature and will allow the entire austenite to decompose or transform. So the term isothermal annealing is associated with the transformation of austenite at constant temperature. The term isothermal itself is indicating that isothermal means constant temperature. So at constant temperature we are doing annealing. That means it is nothing but isothermal transformation, what we have discussed in the previous videos. So the main advantage of isothermal annealing is that it reduces the time required for heat treatment of steel. Yes, this is what exactly we have discussed in isothermal transformation. In isothermal transformation, let me take you to that slide for better understanding. Yeah. So whichever microstructure is required, we'll bring that steel in the austenitic phase to that particular temperature before the starting line of the austenite, and we hold the steel at that particular temperature, and we allow the entire austenite to transform into the desired microstructure. So the main advantage of this is we can reduce the annealing. Whatever annealing is required, we can easily, usually cooling the steel in the furnace itself will take almost 2 to 3 days sometimes. To reduce the temperature from 723 degrees centigrade or more than, sometimes it is from above A3 line, it is 30 to 50 degrees centigrade above for hypoeutectoid steels, and it is above A1 line for hypereutectoid steels. So roughly it is 800 degrees centigrade to room temperature. It will take 2 to 3 days time. So in order to save the time, in order to make the process fast, so annealing is done based on with the help of with the help of TTT diagrams. So TTT diagrams, what it does is it shows how to escape the nose and how to hold the and where to hold the austenitic steel to start the transformation. So then once we know the temperature where we have to hold the steel, at that temperature I will directly take the steel outside the from the furnace, and then I'll quench the steel at that particular temperature, and I will hold the steel at the temperature until the entire transformation takes place. Once the transformation is completed, then the steel is taken back and it is quenched to room temperature. So by doing this, most of the time is saved. So that is the main advantage of uh, TTT diagrams, or continuous cooling transformation diagrams, or isothermal annealing. So these are the basic uh, uh, this is the basic idea behind the isothermal annealing process. So once we are uh, thorough with the TTT diagrams and CCT diagram concepts and the processes, then isothermal annealing will become very easy to understand. So the objective of isothermal annealing is, one objective is to reduce the annealing process time. So for suitable isothermal annealing is also beneficial to achieve uniform organization and performance. However, it is not suitable for large section steel parts and large batch furnace materials, because isothermal annealing is not easy to achieve the isothermal temperature of the internal or batch workpiece. So the main advantage of this isothermal annealing is isothermal annealing cannot adapt on huge sections, because it has to take out from the furnace and it has to quench to the temperature. So instead of doing that and taking out from the furnace and putting and quenching it in some other bath is very hectic task. So therefore isothermal annealing is not done on heavy sections. Isothermal annealing can be done only in on small sections, small components. Whereas full annealing, it can be done on any size or any shape of the component. So what is full annealing? See here, I will go to what is about the full annealing once again. Before that, let me once again recall what exactly isothermal transformation is. Whoever has not followed the isothermal transformation concept in the previous videos, when a phase has been brought into an unstable region, for example, a 0.8% carbon steel is cooled below the isothermal temperature 723 degrees centigrade. The equilibrium diagram no longer explains anything about the transformation of phase from austenite to ferrite and pearlite phases, and the mechanism of their formation also not explained in the uh, iron and iron carbide diagram. But we know that very slow cooling produces pearlite and very rapid cooling produces martensite, leaving the mechanism of transformation. Isothermal transformation of austenite at subcritical temperatures is known as time temperature transformation or TTT diagrams, where continuous cooling transformations are known as CCT diagrams. So the diagram is required for this diagram is required for each and every alloy composition. So TTT diagram or CCT diagram is not applicable for all variety of steels. This steel CCT and TTT diagram is for each and every composition of steel. For every individual composition of steel, we will have TTT curves and CCT curves. So we also discussed how these curves are constructed in these previous video sessions, and we don't have to discuss about the construction of the curves. So depending upon the temperature of transformation, austenite may transform to pearlite or sorbite or two-state or bainite or martensite. We have discussed this. Okay, and these diagrams are plotted between the temperature and the algorithm of time. This also we discussed in the previous video sessions. And let me also show you what is CCT curves. CCT curves, yeah, this is CCT curves. The lines which are coming down from the left corner, top left corner, is it is a continuous cooling. It indicates a continuous cooling. It indicates the temperature. The temperature. So this straight lines coming down indicates that the temperature is reducing with respect to time. As the time is increasing, temperature is reducing. So this type of cooling using TTT diagrams are called as continuous cooling transformation diagram. So this also we discussed in the previous video session, how the austenite is decomposed into various microstructures during continuous cooling transformation. And so because of the retained austenite, to eliminate the retained austenite and to relieve the internal stresses during the cold working or hot working, annealing is used. Annealing is also used for grain refinement in some cases, and some in any inhomogeneity in any structural uh, changes in the component. can be adjusted by using uh, annealing heat treatment process. So this annealing heat treatment process is carried out uh, in three stages. So one is heating, and the second one is soaking, and the third one is cooling. So cooling will differentiate what a kind of heat treatment process it is. For example, if I cool it very slowly in the furnace itself, then it is called as annealing. And if I cool it in still air by removing that steel from the furnace, and if I put it in open air, then it is called as normalizing. And if I directly take the component out of the uh, furnace and then I directly quench it in the water or any liquid bath maintaining at certain temperatures, then it is called as hardening or quenching process. So the purpose of annealing is to obtain softness. So annealing is the first type of heat treatment process, that is cooling in the furnace itself. But again, annealing itself is broadly divided into four categories. One is full annealing, and the other one is process annealing or subcritical annealing. And we can see what is process annealing, what is stress relief annealing. Full annealing for hypereutectoid steels. Yeah, this diagram shows, this one diagram itself gives so much information about the four types of annealing processes. That is, the dashed lines gives the information about full annealing, and the dark ashed region shows the hardening process temperature, and dotted white color dotted area shows normalizing region. So we'll discuss what is normalizing during the normalizing section. So once we understand the concepts of annealing, we discussed about annealing. Annealing is nothing but heating hypoeutectoid steel above A3 line, and hypereutectoid steel above A1 line, and slowly cooling it in the furnace itself is called as full annealing. I repeat, annealing or full annealing is same, and this annealing is nothing but heating the hypoeutectoid steel above the A3 line and heating the hypereutectoid steel above A1 line, and slowly cooling in the furnace itself gives a perlitic structure. In hypoeutectoid steels, the resulting microstructure is ferrite plus, in the matrix of ferrite, what we get is perlite. And in the hypereutectoid steels, what we get is perlite plus cementite, and the cementite is in the form of a network across the grain boundaries. So because of the cementite network across the grain boundaries, the metal becomes very brittle, and the hardness is increased, and brittleness is also increased, strength is also increased, but ductility and toughness are very much reduced. So therefore, to improve the ductility and toughness, the steel is slowly cooled below the A1 line to form a perlite and dispersed or spheroidized cementite so that the metal becomes ductile and the toughness is also increased. So this is what is called as annealing and spheroidized annealing. And we also discussed what is subcritical, and subcritical annealing is nothing but it is heated below the A1 line around 650 degrees centigrade and holding at the temperature for sufficient time so that the internal stresses release and grain refinement takes place, and then slowly it is cooled to room temperature. So that is called as annealing. So in this video, with this video we will be winding up the process of annealing, the entire annealing processes. So the only complicated thing with annealing process is annealing is different for hypoeutectoid steels and hypereutectoid steels. For all the four types of annealings, that is full annealing or process annealing, spheroidized annealing or isothermal annealing. So in all these four annealing processes, the heating temperature or the soaking temperature is different, and the cooling is very slow cooling only, but the cooling temperatures are different for hypoeutectoid steel and hypereutectoid steel. This we should keep in mind. And also the other thing what we should keep in mind is what is the final microstructure that we are going to get when we do annealing process. So in full annealing, obviously we get at 0.8%, that is eutectoid steel, we will get 100% perlite, a coarse perlite, we will get a coarse perlite. Whereas a 0.4% carbon steel, that is hypoeutectoid steel, we have to heat it above the A3 line and we have to hold at that temperature for sufficient time for the austenite to become uniform, and then it is cooled to get 50% ferrite plus 50% perlite. Whereas in the case of hypereutectoid steels, we have to heat it above the A1 line and we have to hold it at the temperature, and then slowly cooling gives a structure of perlite and cementite. And if we have to get spheroidized cementite globules, then it is slowly cooled, holding either below the A1 line or above the A1 line. So all these things are same. A cooling process is same for all the annealing processes. But what is process annealing? Process annealing is above 650 degrees centigrade, heating it above 650 and below 700 degrees centigrade, and holding at the temperature for sufficient long time, and then slowly cooling gives uh, a stress free steel. Process annealing is mostly used for relieving the internal stresses and for grain refinement. Other than that, not, no other chemical or microstructural changes takes place in process annealing. In spheroidized annealing, microstructure changes takes place. What is that? The cementite network is converted into small spheroids or globules. Whereas in process annealing, whatever the microstructure we have, ferrite plus perlite in hypoeutectoid steels will remain as it is. Even in hypereutectoid steels also, whatever the structure we have, perlite plus cementite. Even in the cementite is either in the form of network cementite network along the grain boundary region, or it is in the form of globules. If it is in the form of globules, it will remain as it is, but no microstructure changes takes place in process annealing. This is very important. Whereas in full annealing, microstructure changes takes place. Whereas periodized annealing, microstructure changes place. But in isothermal annealing and full annealing are both same. But only the difference is isothermal annealing is used to reduce the annealing annealing time. Other than that, no other significance is used. But the advantage of isothermal annealing is any type of steel can be annealed very fast. But the disadvantage is we cannot adopt isothermal annealing on huge sections, because we have to quench them in the certain temperature baths, which becomes very difficult to quench huge sections in big tanks. So maintaining the temperatures, bath temperatures, will become very difficult. So isothermal annealing can be only, the main disadvantage of isothermal annealing is it can be only adapted for small sections, and it cannot be adapted on huge sections. Otherwise, full annealing and isothermal annealing are both same. So uh, strictly speaking, we have only three types of annealing, that is full annealing, process annealing, and periodized annealing. But in process annealing, no microstructure changes takes place. But in full annealing, definitely microstructure changes takes place, and internal stresses are relieved, ductility is induced, toughness is induced, brittleness is reduced, and strength is reduced, hardness is reduced. Whereas in isothermal annealing, the same things can be happen, but at very fast rate, because in full annealing the process takes around 2 to 3 days, whereas in isothermal annealing it can be done only in 1 day. So thus we can reduce the annealing time. But the main advantage is reducing the annealing time, but the other big disadvantage is it can be only adopted to small sections. So this we need to keep in mind. And the disadvantages of annealing sometimes can be treated as it decreases the strength is reduced, and fine grain structure will converted into coarse grain structure during annealing process. The main during annealing, the important factor that we need to observe is the grain structure will change from fine grain structure will be changed to coarser grain structure because of slow cooling. So slow cooling will give the grains sufficient time to grow. So that is the main reason why the grain structure is coarse in annealing. But this is not the case with normalizing and hardening heat treatment processes. So this we will be seeing how the grain structure is changed in from fine to coarse in annealing, and coarse to fine in normalizing or in quenched. To convert fine grain structure to coarse grain structure, annealing process is used. To convert coarse grain structure to fine grain structure, normalizing heat treatment can be used. So vice versa, we can change. So we can change the grain size. By changing the grain size, we can also change the mechanical properties of the steel. So the basic idea of heat treatment itself is to change the mechanical properties, and also to relieve the internal stresses, and to bring homogeneity in the grain structure throughout the steel. So I hope you understood the entire annealing process concepts. In the next video, we'll be discussing about the normalizing and hardening heat treatment processes. Thank you.